cats, cops, and C4. "She almost got away!" Amy exclaims out of seemingly nowhere. The girl had been whisper quiet and very, very clingy after the drama of today's trial, and Cenk could understand why. She was caught in less than 5 minutes and held in an iron grip until she was placed in stasis. Still, just because he understands doesn't mean he's going to let her wallow in delusion. Things are all right, and if he has to assure her of that until he's out of air to do so, then he will. "She could still break out," Amy exclaims, still clearly panicking. "Not without outside help. And right now the whole world is seeing that she has the personal displeasure of a living goddess," he says calmly. He's not sure if the words are going to mean anything to her until she calms down a little more. But the tone is important. This is a frightened child. Reason isn't the cure. Then there's a soft, rumbling sound, and Vera gives Amy a hug from behind. The girl seems to almost melt into the embrace, and at Cenk's surprised look, Vera gives him a smile but doesn't say anything. "So do you think you'll be called up again?" Kegalan asks. "Possibly. The judge seems to be dedicated to making sure there is no ambiguity in her judgment or question to the case. She's taking the in absentia proceedings very seriously." Cenk states, "Of course, as her hired bodyguard, you're going to be called in as well at least once. And Milan for her involvement, and well, everyone. Huh. My entire out-of-ship social circle is going to be part of this. Do you have no friends outside of immediate family? Human men tend to make their friends with who they work with. So with me, that's the soldiers and crew of the Dauntless and the other officers at the station," Cenk says. "That's it," Gabriella presses. "With the ship alone, that's over 5,000 people. I thought the Undaunted started out as 5,000. No, that's how many dedicated soldiers there were. The ship itself has a crew of several hundred, not to mention the researchers, legal staff, maintenance, and other dedicated branches." Cenk explains, and Gabriella considers. "So are you going to get that ear healed?" She reaches up and runs her hand along it. Her ears bend near the top, or rather her left ear does. The right ear has been torn off at about the halfway point. From Cenk's understanding, it's a kind of ethnicity among rabbis. "I think I shall, however. Everything was moving at a very exciting pace, and I hadn't had the time to actually get anything done." She answers and Cenk nods. She gives Vera a strange look and seems to be considering. "It is, however, clear to me that you all will likely be very necessary for the emotional and mental health of the young miss. So I do hope that after this unpleasantness clears, or more likely drifts out of our lives, as the court case can take many, many years, that you can visit often." "That shouldn't be a problem. Heck, if you let me bring some friends, we can teach Amy all sorts of things." "Like what?" Amy asks. "Well, what happened to you was scary, right?" He asks and she nods. "Well, it would have been a lot less scary if instead of getting hurt, you ended up bouncing that killer off the nearest wall with a punch, right?" She smiles. "Thank you so very much, milady. I know I am an unworthy wretch before your divine might and justice." The rescued Nagasha, named Haliza, stammers out before her, and Balash holds up a hand. There is silence. "This is justice. It was my error, a criminal runaway from my court that harmed you. This is proper and just recompense. You need not thank me for what I owe to you." Balash states, "Haliza is looking much better now. It turns out the girl was both massively addicted, for which she's on several medicines to deal with withdrawal symptoms, and had been infested with carrion grubs, or as humans would call them, alien maggots. Mind control axiom techniques is her main concern, but mind-altering substances that numb you so thoroughly that insects begin to infest you? She will have to see what can be done about that as well. Perhaps Haliza could..." She shakes her head, and the jungle Nagasha gasps. "Oh no, nothing to be concerned about. Just my own intrusive thoughts," Balash says before placing her center left hand on the smaller Nagasha's shoulder. "Now, Haliza, this home is on loan to me, and I will be departing in after my business on Centris is finished. Should you still be in my care at this time, you will be free to join me. However, while under my care, I expect you to be at the very least productive." "In what way, milady?" Haliza asks in a stuttering tone. "Calm yourself, this will not be onerous. Before you found yourself living in the circumstances you were in, what did you want to do with your life? Who, or perhaps what, did you want to be?" Balash asks her. "It's stupid. I couldn't do it. I just wasn't good enough. Tell me, child, Balash orders gently. I wanted to be an adventurer, to go out and do something incredible. To be something incredible. The kind of woman that can just pick up what she's doing, go somewhere, and have something happen. But it's never a bad thing because she's just so amazing. I wanted to do things that no one else had, see what no one else did, and go to where no one else had ever been. But I was just a sucker in the end, a silly little snake with her head in the... Haliza's self-pity is cut off as Balash lowers herself to her level and puts her middle right hand on the girl's other shoulder. The proper term is explorer, Balash says. You will need to learn how to pilot and maintain differing types of spacecraft. Astrogation using both modern techniques, reliant on galactic infrastructure, and ancient astrogation methods, for when you are beyond the reach of civilization. You will need to learn both biological and geological sciences to test new worlds to determine if they are safe and what resources they have. You will need to learn numerous survival techniques, combat techniques, and linguistics for dealing with the worlds and potential primitive races as well, to say nothing of the flora and fauna. Finally, some amount of cartography so you can make maps while on the surface of foreign worlds will be immensely useful. Also, archaeological studies, so that if you come across ancient ruins, you understand how to study them without causing damage. Milady? Haliza asks in wonder. Being an explorer is not easy, and to let you go off unprepared would be irresponsible of me. Your education will begin tomorrow, although it will be a half day, as you also have an appointment with a psychologist to get to. I am unworthy. I cannot possibly be... Haliza whimpers as the situation fully crashes into her and she's overwhelmed by it. A soft cloth wipes away her tears and Balash tips her head to look up again. That's enough of that. You are my ward now, my responsibility. Your dreams are my goals, your health, my priority. Calm yourself and clear your mind. Tomorrow is the first day of many to come. Balash assures her, and the weeping doesn't have tears this time. But it's no less deep and powerful as some long-guttered and snuffed-out spark of innocence and hope flares back to life. Many hours later, as Haliza is in her new bed and sound asleep, Balash is still moving. There is work to be done, much work to be done. It's clear that far too many people are slipping between the cracks. Still too many people being left to rot and be destroyed. Balash secretly despised ecumenopolises in all their forms. The sheer mass of people always meant that the inevitable slums, undersides of society, and the poor souls that just slipped through the cracks were just shunted to some forgotten corner in truly disgusting numbers and forgotten about. My lady, you have a guest, Jalasi says. It's her home, we're just borrowing it. Balash says easily, knowing who it is. She claims she's being polite. Jalasi replies, and of course she knew I would say that. Balash mutters to herself, please see her in Jalasi. Ah, good choice of room, Balash. It has an amazing view. Rikoa says, slithering up to the massive crystal window that Balash had been reading by. Nighttime or not, the sheer light from the traffic above and the city poured in a melange of technicolor lights of every hue, each one a tribute to the different ways that races saw the galaxy and formed a backlight that emphasized the majestic size of both primals. So, another ward. Is she going to be getting the Xaltraki experience? Yes. Really. If the Xaltraki experience is to be directly asked what they want out of life, and then having everything they need to achieve it provided, then yes, Balash states. 1,000 years of teaching and hands-on experience? He wanted to make sure that the galaxy was a better place no matter where he went or what he did. You think that's easy to teach? You think that's even possible to do? No matter where or what is a big ask? It took 1,000 years for a reason, Balash notes. I'm not sure I could do that kind of parenting myself. That level of attention and expectation is a bit much. Perhaps if you didn't have entire demographics for children? Balash remarks and Rikoa chuckles. Maybe, but you know that compared to some other girls out there, you know I'm downright chaste, Rikoa says, and you're as sexual as your nickname. Did you really come here to discuss my love life? Balash asks in an unamused tone. How can one speak on an absence? Rikoa pokes with amusement. Yes, because the one thing you can't live without is romance. It can be more than just romance, girl. A good solid. Rikoa begins and laughs into the hand that Balash uses to shut her mouth. She then gently pulls the hand off. If they fight, not only will it be immensely pointless, but they'll end up destroying things they'd rather not. All right, to the thrust of things. How is he, and how are you? Me? Balash asks. You have a history with mind control effects. A hatred for them too. Someone using two different types so blatantly, whether it's the girl in stasis or not. Well, how are you holding up? Speaking of hatred, I was sure that... What? Nah, you're the other team. It's no fun if no one plays against you. This is not a legal admission, by the way, Rikoa says, and Balash cannot help but actually snort in amusement. The fact that Rikoa had gone from gesturing grandly to holding all of her index fingers out in front of her, as if asking for a moment to speak, had just tickled something in her. There we go. She's got a soft side. Do you have any idea how much you have to actually care to dedicate yourself to actual justice? Not just upholding arbitrary rules. A computer algorithm can do that. Actual justice. Real justice, it needs compassion and mercy both. You can't do that without a soft side. But it has to be under the armor. Well, that's what armor's for. So you're all right. You know how to take this? And honestly, your perp did you a solid when she shanked that poor girl. Now you have another war to take care of now that Jaltraki's finally slithered out of the nest. And what would you know about empty nest syndrome, Miss Mother, with an army of her children and their children and their children, and so on, still with her? Balash asks, and Rikoa laughs. Nothing. I'm always surrounded by adoring family. But you, always just a few words at most, your adoptive sons and daughters. Or son and daughters. 1,000 years of constantly having someone you could speak to, not as the tri-tite lady, but as yourself. As someone who cares but is stern in her expressing it. I'm just glad you have someone to care for. It brings out your best. You were fairly testy before you started the habit. You were mass smuggling weapons at the time and provoked 3 wars. 3 rebellions, the people spoke. The people died in droves, horribly. And that inspired others to pick up the weapons and fight until something better was made. Rikoa says, something you could have done the entire time. Balash counters. So could you, Rikoa replies. It was not my place. I had no right to just slither in and grab a throne, Balash states. There's already enough horrific precedent when someone stronger and older decides they just unilaterally know better and enforce it at cannon point. That's right, it wasn't your place to just slither in and change it, nor was it mine, Rikoa says. You interfered. No more than any other Nagasha, maybe a touch more extravagantly. But at that moment, it didn't matter if I was primal or not. You still slithered all over a situation that became much more volatile for your presence. We may be the big girls of the galaxy, but we're still of the galaxy. We can't just hold ourselves away from it. We're a part of it. As you've said many times, and as I have said many times, we are the big girls of the galaxy. We must be aware of what damage we can do. This is about the time Jaltraki would say, and what good we can do, Rikoa says. You miss him, Balash teases. Of course I miss him. He's adorable. How you raise someone that towers over me like a building to be so damn cute is a mystery, and I already miss the little bastard. Balash can only laugh.